welcome to Think Well. Here we are, George.
Hey, welcome.
Myself, Laura. And today we have a really exciting and fun podcast to talk about puppies.
Puppies, yes.
Dogs and just our fur baby companions.
Yeah, maybe cats as well.
Yeah, cats too.
Yeah.
Although I'm allergic, but I mean, they
absolutely.
serve a purpose for a lot of people. I love cats, though. They're so pretty.
Yeah, I think a question to keep in mind while we're talking about how cute puppies are, and I mean, we're going to talk mostly about dogs, right? But yeah, that extends to cats as well. Domesticated animals, you know, the most popular ones are dogs and cats. But I mean, some people have reptiles and things like that with the birds, which is really cool. They're also companions, of course. But yeah, mostly dogs, right? The role of dogs in wellness, what role they play in, you know, making us healthier, right? Contributing to our wellness, right? And yeah, we can start with that. But the question that I want people to keep in mind is, as we acknowledge that dogs are, some of them can be work dogs, right? Like emotional support. Also, that they're not just mere instruments of, you know, they're not there just to make us well. They're also beings themselves, and you know, they have the, you know, we have the obligation to also care for them, right?
Absolutely.
And I say that because, you know, they go through a lot of, like, particularly dogs that are trained to be you know, emotional support and work dogs, right? They go through extensive training. They're treated well and everything, but sometimes they could also be overworked, and perhaps the love that they should be receiving in return is not 100% there. So let's explore that too, right, during a conversation, to see if I'm just talking crap or if there's any validity in what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, so we have been dog parents for quite some time. We had 4 puppies before, and now we have one beautiful pumpkin in our life. And we always go out of our way to rescue dogs. We're not in the market per se of buying a dog from a breeder, especially a puppy mill. So that's something that's really important.
It is important, but I also feel too that for some people might be a journey, and this is why I pose that question too, because some people might be thinking about, you know, getting a dog, but until you live with a dog for years, you haven't really, you know, developed, I guess, the you know, the knowledge, right, and the skills that are necessary to have a great relationship with another being. That's just the only difference is that, you know, they're on 4 legs and they don't, you know, speak the language we speak, but they're beings nevertheless, right?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, we certainly don't judge people. I know a lot of close friends and family, they go to breeders, and of course they make sure to do their due diligence to see that the breeders are actually very well informed, educated, and take good care of the mom and the dad of these soon-to-be puppies. But for us, it's all about giving a dog a second chance at life, you know, especially when they had a rough life. So, yeah, you know, for anyone that's out there that's contemplating on getting a dog, yeah, you know, do your homework, make sure that the breeder is a good, decent breeder. And for those of you who want to help another life, you know, be able to live a good life after whatever they've been through, certainly check out all the local dog rescue, cat rescues. There's a lot of them. And actually, we did attend a little event yesterday. It was a meet and greet, I guess, like a networking event for one of the dog rescue organizations in the Halton area where we live, and it's called Save Our Scruff.
Yeah, they're a great organization. They've been doing this for a while, and really committed. They have a great, you know, program, and they also their program also includes helping dogs from Mexico, right? Going to Mexico and bringing dogs up here for adoption. Also assisting them, the shelters down there, assisting them with some vet care and stuff like that, right? So it's a great organization, Save Our Scruff. They're based here in Ontario, Burlington, Toronto, actually, and they do great work. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide the information there with the link, so people have can check them out. But yeah, I think what's the role of dogs or cats or companion animals in wellness? How do they make us well or better, right? So a lot of people, I mean, it's the emotional dogs, right? Obviously, they're providing emotional support. But what does that mean? It means that people that are experiencing things like anxiety, a lot of stress, right? They really benefit mental health in general, right? They really benefit from interaction with the dog. I can share my story. About 10 years ago, I developed really bad anxiety due to life changes, and it was really difficult. I obviously it's a journey, so I had to learn how to deal with that and manage anxiety, and part of it was building a network of support, including professionals, right, including friends and so on. But the single most powerful support that I received when I was going through anxiety was my two dogs, Scooter and Tito, right? Their commitment to making me feel better was just, unwavering commitment, right? And so I kind of know firsthand the benefit of having that support, right? Because they're with you 24/7. The thing with dogs, right? You're with them all the time. Nowadays it's a little bit easier to take them with you. Like, we took one of our dogs on a plane. There's some restaurants now, malls, and some stores allow you to bring dogs. So more and more, you don't need to separate from them throughout the day, for example, right? So it looks like maybe you're spending more time with your dog because when you go out, you can bring them. And some workplaces too, you can also bring your dog. So you really spend a lot of time with them, and they really get to know you even more. So they really know when you're not having a good day.
Yeah.
When you're experiencing something.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the whole basis of, dogs that are trained to help people with particular health conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to identify, because they read your body language, they become experts at that so quickly, right?
They do, yeah. They're definitely very intuitive with what we are feeling, for sure. Yeah, they're great. And they are certainly unconditional love. Right? They don't care, what your political, preferences, what your, what you're wearing, what you look like. They don't care about any of that superficial, or any ideology. So they're there to love you fully.
Yeah, unconditional love. That's the thing, right? I mean, I always say that. Dogs come to your life because they're there to teach you something. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a common thread, with all relationship with dogs. They're there to teach you humility, teach you, of course, unconditional love, right?
Yeah.
And they're there also to teach you to be more resilient, more flexible, because we are so... we're so controlling. We're control freaks as human beings, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're kind of forced to be that way in a sense, right? Because we have so many things on the go. We have, work and, monies and all those things that make us, that we have to be on top of things, right? And so there's a huge level of control there, which creates anxiety. But dogs don't have that, right? I mean, they can certainly develop that anxiety about, separation anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the fear of being abandoned, or the fear of seeing you suffer. But it's different, right? They're not control freaks like we are.
Yeah. And with pets, we are their everything, especially like for my experience, I've only had dogs. But yeah, we are their everything, right? So they wait for us when we get home. Their whole life revolves around us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're very special.
Yoga and dogs, why don't you talk about that?
Well, so I personally haven't guided a class with puppy yoga. It looks really fun. I know a lot of people have, and they love it. However, with my morning practice, I always have an audience of puppies watching, right? So it's really neat because, so when George and I met, you had Scooter and Tito, I had Teo and Gizmo. And so for me, I was so used to having both Gizmo and Teo sit on the couch and watch me practice. Sometimes they would sit on my mat and just meditate with me. I actually have some really cute pictures of Teo doing that. So when we got together, it was really interesting because Scooter was a lot of high energy, and Tito too. They were both Jack Russell, right? And the moment I would start my yoga practice, all four of them would just be zen and just sit there and be very calm. And yeah, it didn't matter what was going on. They were just there to enjoy, I guess, my practice. So
I can tell from, Pumpkin doing the same thing, right?
Pumpkin
because
too,
Pumpkin is like my shadow, right? She's attached to me.
Yeah, Pumpkin
much, right?
is.
But when it comes to your yoga time, she doesn't want to do anything with me. Like if I say
it's our time.
Yeah. She just loves to sit there and wait for you until you finish your yoga. So there's got to be something there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the contribution that dogs make to our overall wellness it's incredible, right? And again, it's there's no conditions, there's no steps to follow or anything like that. All you need to do is just to have a reciprocal relationship with them, right? In other words, also return the love that they give you. And most people do. Most people I know that have dogs are like that, or cats for that matter, right? They really love them and they treat them like they're, their own babies. But there are, I would be also very, how would I say this? Although dogs can really make you calm and really help you with anxiety and stress, if you are not ready for a dog, right? And if you don't want to have a dog in the house, and so I know in the case of many spouses, for example, that they say, no, well, we're going to have a dog anyways, right? And one of them is not on board with that. That can create a lot of stress and anxiety for the person too, right? So it's doing the opposite of, contributing to overall wellness. It should, and it's also not great for the dog because the dog feels that, there is a tension there, right? And so to me, that's really important to mention that. That's why I kind of posed that question in the beginning, because it's important to, when you are taking a dog or a cat, that you are going to give them, also everything that they expect, which is not much, but it's unconditional love. And that also boils down to making sacrifices, right? Mm-hmm. So most of us, we love our freedom, right? So if we want to travel, we travel as well, that kind of stuff. But your dogs really, really take an emotional hit when you leave them, right? Mm-hmm. Even though they kind of know I don't know if they know or not, but that you're taking all the steps to ensure that they're going to be safe and they're going to be taken care of. There's still, there's a huge impact to their emotions there, right? And I know there's some people that maybe need to think about that a little bit longer, right, before making that commitment. So I won't be able probably to take vacation for a couple of weeks without my dog, because what am I going to do with my dog, right? And it's not as easy as, and we're critical of people that we know that would go, hey, I'm going away for like a whole week. And they just ask people around if they, they're interested in taking care of their dogs. I would fucking die if that's me, right? If I ever do that, please, slap me around or something like that for me to wake up because it's just the thought of leaving a dog, and there's so many possible things that can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm anxious, of course, by nature, and so I'm trying to think of all the negative scenarios that can arise, but it's important too because the responsibility of the person looking after the dog is huge. What if something happens to the dog, right? And how do you face that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's it's something that could become really a complicated affair, right? But also also your dog, right, needs to be in a place where they're comfortable, right? And so if you just ask one of your friends who has never looked after your dog, they might know who the friend is, but all of a sudden, they're in their place for like a whole week or two, right? That has an impact, and it's not abuse or anything like that, but again, a bit of maybe a little bit of neglect in some ways. Am I being too judgmental about that, or?
Well, no, I mean, I think we're all entitled to our opinions. I think overall, there are some people who are a little bit more relaxed and nonchalant about it, and these are good people we know, right? These are really good people we know, and they're very relaxed and nonchalant about it. I know for myself, I had to working from home wasn't an option back in the day when I had the boys, and I would leave for 8 to 10 hours because I was commuting, right? So I get that. Sometimes, you don't have a choice, but when it comes to going away, I think that's something that we can certainly accommodate and make sure that it's not just Joe down the street that's going to take care of Pumpkin, right? We've actually had ideas and plans to go away together, but we can't right now, and that's okay, right? And I think that's something that as a couple needs to be discussed again before we actually decide, okay, we're going to have a little companion in our lives. So just having those conversations before the fact, that way there's no surprises. Because the way I see dogs, it's not my dog or our dog. That's our family member.
Absolutely,
right?
And just I was thinking too. Yeah, of course, but I was thinking too. They're members of the community, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of dogs that are, of course, when we take our dog for a walk, we meet everybody, all the dog parents in the community, and we know their dogs. We actually remember the dog's name more than the parent's name. It's kind of embarrassing, but I think everybody can relate to that. Yeah. Everybody that has a dog. But that's a community as well, right? Mm-hmm. And I think also, if you remember last night, there was a little girl, I don't know how old she was, maybe 3 years old or something like that. And she just wanted to hug her dog. And she just went for it. And
so cute.
And it just shows you that naturally, at that age, I don't think that they haven't watched that many movies. And maybe culturally too, there's some barriers there, right? That, maybe people are certain cultures that are not that excited about, having a dog at home. And so for this little girl to just, run to the dog and give the dog a hug in it was such a great feeling, right?
So cute.
To see that kids are naturally, inclined, I guess, to interact with dogs in the same way that would interact with anybody else, right?
Yeah, and Pumpkin's not a little puppy. She's a big girl, right? And she was just so drawn to her and just ran to her, wanting to hug her. And the mom was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so like, please." And actually, it was really interesting because there was a similar, I think we can say cultural. They were the same, I think, culture, right? That a few minutes before we interacted with that, George and I were walking on the promenade with Pumpkin, and there was a family sitting on the bench, and there was 2 kids or 3 kids on their bike. Remember that? And as we're walking closer to them, the dad just started yelling. I don't know what he was saying in their language, and the kids didn't even turn around. They just picked up their bikes and were running for dear life. So as they're turning around to see us, they see, oh my gosh, there's a dog. So that's something that the parents are imposing that fear on them, right? So it was really interesting to see that, because we see that a lot, where a lot of parents, maybe they have fear, or culturally dogs are not welcome. They impose that, they condition their kids to believe that, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the parents are conditioning the kids, but it's part of the culture. It's part of
the parents are sharing that. Right? Like they're
but the parents themselves were.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It was really nice to see that same culture with that lady was so welcoming. Like, oh, is it okay? And she was so happy to see her daughter interact.
That's why I brought it up, because without even mentioning culture, it's the fact that it transcends cultures, right? Because the natural reaction of the little girl, the 2-3-year-old girl, I don't know, was to run to the dog for affection, and for play, not to get away from the dog because of fear.
Out of fear,
right?
Yeah, it was really sweet. So,
yeah, but yeah, nevertheless, again, the contributions that dogs have, towards our wellness are incredible. Street dogs, right? We have to talk about that, because there are many places in the world where street dogs are a thing.
Yeah.
And so when we say that dogs are part of our community, I know we've been seeing them, on Instagram, things like that, where, places like Turkey, I don't know how to confirm that, but people are trying to be a little bit better, and allowing them to go inside when it's cold. And some restaurants, I know, I've also seen, this is only social media, right? So I can't really check and see if it's really a national thing, but people are, it seems like there is a consciousness, there is an awareness that, dogs are loving beings, and they also, that they have an intrinsic, worth, intrinsic, I can't remember the word, oh my God. Anyways, that they also need to be respected, right? And so they need to, how does that apply to street dogs? People may be being a little bit more careful, being less upset about seeing dogs and not taking it out on dogs, for example, and being able to maybe not necessarily taking responsibility for feeding them and things like that, but at least not abuse them and be neglectful, right? Because it lends itself for a lot of abuse, right? It's like homeless people. Unfortunately, it's something that a lot of people feel like, well, this person's not really, doesn't really count, doesn't really matter, so I can refer to them as shit, or I can think of them as nothing, right? Simply because they're houseless, right? And I grew up in, as young, I grew up in Chile. Chile's a great nation, but also there's a lot of stray dogs on the streets, right? Even though it's a country that, for Latin America, it's one of the most developed countries in Latin America. It's come a long way, but they still have street dogs, right? Thankfully, with social media and again, people being more aware of this, people accepting dogs more and more as part of their family, right? They're obviously are beginning to see dogs differently, right? And I've seen that even with some organizations in Chile that have been reporting that, it's not as bad. I remember growing up seeing a lot of abuse, dogs getting hit by cars and just being left there because there's not a system to look after them, right?
Yeah.
They're just simply things. They're part of the environment, right?
Yeah. And in addition to street dogs, I remember when I was back home visiting, they had a dog. His name was Dookie, cute little dog. Well, he was a big kind of retriever, and he was treated like crap. Like, don't come in the house. Right. Get out. Like, you're not welcomed here. And it was just a dog. And I remember thinking, oh, poor thing, So it's nice to see that a lot of people are accepting dogs more into their homes and, like we said, like family, right?
And the cool thing is that this is where I say that dogs are teachers, right? and I can kind of relate this to martial arts. You train every day, if you can, to how to beat somebody up, basically, how to hurt somebody, right? You train in different ways and different strategies, different techniques, and you prepare physically. But that's the least you will ever do. The more you train, the more you know the ways of hurting people with your empty hands, basically, the more peaceful you become, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that you're like, oh man, I want to be violent and this is why I'm going to learn this. And this is something that any martial artist will tell you, right? And so it's not like they have to force you to contain that violence. It's controlled violence. It's something that teaches you the opposite, which seems paradoxical. But the more you train on ways of violence, the more you become opposed to it, right? And certainly not wanting to use it. Why am I saying this? Because dogs can hurt you very easily, right? You think of a dog like a German Shepherd, right? That's a big sized dog. One bite, you're gonna be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And there is a choice there. Even street dogs that really have no family or no loyalty to anyone, still, right? Their choice, if you will, if we can say that there's a choice there, is not to hurt human beings.
Yeah.
On the contrary, to display love, right?
Yeah.
So interesting, but sometimes, and this is an interesting thing, and Jordan Peterson has brought that up, and I like the way that he articulates it. But in order for you to be virtuous, right, to be a good person, right, it's a lot. It's not that it's easier, but it's a lot more profound to be somebody to know that you're somebody that can do damage in the world, but yet you choose to do good, right? And there's a little bit more value there than somebody not doing anything just because they're afraid, right? Because we talked about cowards and the ICE rates in the United States, right? And how when you're a coward, then you are vulnerable, and anything that it's going to be able to kind of mediate that fear that you have as being a coward, right, will come out in really bad ways, right? And if you're a coward, you never had the opportunity, as I was saying with martial arts, for example, you never have the opportunity to flirt with the idea of damage or harm, right? And so it's kind of required in order for you to make that choice, right? Now, I'm not saying that every person that has been exposed to evil, it's going to be a good person, but for the most part, if you have been exposed to it, and if you had gone through a process of reflection and understanding it and thinking about it and the importance of it, you're probably somebody that's going to say, well, that's I'd rather be on the side of good, right? But again, if you're a coward, that's not something you're even thinking about, right?
Yeah.
How does that relate to what we're talking about? Again, dogs, right? They know that they can cause damage, right? They know that they can be powerful when it comes to their physical aggression, but yet they choose to be nothing but little angels. I don't have anything else to say about dogs other than they're cute. I love them, and I just want to squeeze my dog and kiss her to death when I get home. Do you have anything else to say?
No, we love dogs.
Right to remain silent. Too.
We love our dogs.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
they're
ICE.
part.
Right.
They're part of our family.
Did I say fuck ICE? Okay. Yeah,
okay, so clearly you want to get political.
No. This is not a political show, but hey, maybe there is a place for dogs and politics, right? Maybe. Yeah.
Where is this going?
I don't know where this is going. But yeah, police dogs, right? I mean, they're not using them for the raids, so the minute they do that, that's going to get even more heated for me if I see that they're using dogs to sniff out people.
Yeah.
But, well, when the time comes, we'll talk about that. But for now, just fuck ICE. That's it. All right.
Yes, and we love our dogs, love your pets. They are our family. And check out Save Our Scruff and other local rescue organizations.
We're going to provide all that information, the link and all that.
So and hopefully we can have them come in one day and we can chat
cool.
with them. That would be so great.
Have like a whole bunch of dogs, you mean?
Well,
If
with,
it's
and
allowed?
organize
All right, cool.
the organizers. But yeah, a bunch of dogs, that would be great too.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.